Hey, hello again. I'm Pastor Mike, and this is.
Nick over here, and welcome to the third episode of Stumbling Towards the Eschaton.
Welcome back, everybody, or welcome for the first time. This is Nick and I talking about some stuff, and what we usually kick off with is the gospel lesson for the upcoming Sunday, and we got one that I enjoy because I find it amusing. Because what we really have is we got the brothers James and John. I don't know if you heard of them, but they're two of the major apostles, sons of Zebedee, and they kind of go up to the boss, to Jesus, and they ask this hilarious question. At the heart of it, they're like, "Dude, when everything's finalized, the Eschaton we talk about, we want some pretty great seats at the show. I want to be your right hand, your left hand," which is pretty much saying that obviously, God the Father, you're the boss, and then we're kind of second command. And they ask this, being all like, we should be the best when it comes there. And they kind of riff with Jesus. And then, the other apostles, after Jesus kind of like, that's not my job to assign those positions. That's my Father in heaven's gig. The other 10 apostles hear it. And it's great because they're ticked. So here you have these group of these 12 that have been together. And they got two of them like, psst, psst, can we be your favorites? Which is this awesome, hilarious moment. And then Jesus goes into this whole almost, I call them, you just guys don't get it moments. Like, seriously, you guys still have not got it yet? And he raises up this awesome, awesome thing. And he said, so Jesus called them and said to them, you know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as the rulers and lord over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. The reading selection is from Mark 10:35 through 45, and that's kind of the end. It's just this hilarious story.
Mm-hmm. And plus, too, with what they're trying to ask, God's a pretty good parent in which he doesn't really have a favorite. As he says, we're all equal. Mm-hmm. And so that is kind of one of those things, too, that they don't really understand, is kind of, we're all going to the same place at the end of the road,
Well, yeah, it's that odd moment. I mean, this isn't the beginning. This isn't just where they started off. They've been with him for a bit. Yeah. And there's been discussions. He's taking kids and put them in front of him and say, hey, you got to receive the kingdom like this kid. So this is like the first time where he's been like, hey, maybe your concerns with being excessively awesome need to be reduced a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they're like, but I still want to be really awesome.
Yeah.
Which is this hilarious thing. Over and over, they come back to this. And he lays up this distinct, different understanding. And it is important. A lot of the days, there is the understanding that the great are how. I mean, how are the great? Mm-hmm. They're in charge of everybody. They're bosses. Everybody does stuff for them.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't think much has changed.
No, I'm pretty sure. Because that's how it is, too. Like, with school and at work, you're always doing whatever the head honcho wants you to do. And which is one of those things is people, like with Karl Marx, he's always just like, well, people should rebel because that's the right thing to do. But people have that dream of, you know what, one day I'm going to be in those shoes. I'm going to be barking orders at everybody too. With things too is with parents is they'll always be, they'll ask you to do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And then when you ask them, why do you always do this? And they're just like, just wait till you have kids. You're going to be barking orders at them too. And so it's kind of just been a reoccurring theme with everything is kind of.
No matter what philosophy, political theory, all those sorts of things, there is this common sense. I mean, you even talk about guys like Nietzsche then. I don't know if you got into that, where there's a sense like, heck yeah, brother, you need to become the Ubermensch. That's the goal, son. You need to free yourself and just lord over people. And I mean, you want to talk about, some of the guys we talked about, they're really just blatantly honest about it. Well, yeah. And what was the ridiculous movie in the 80s? Was it Wall Street?
I think The Wolf of Wall Street, was it?
Oh, I was thinking about the other one where it's like Douglas and Greed is Good. Have you ever heard that one?
I have not.
Oh my gosh, maybe I'm dating myself. Or maybe I'm doing that. Well, not dating myself, like I'm buying myself dinner at Taco Bell.
Hey, nothing's wrong with that.
Taco Bell. All right. But, that concept, greed is good. Whatever you need to do to get paid, man, just do it. And here, as much as we like to buy into it, there is this sense of, at that era, this era, any in between, Jesus says, no. What does greatness look like? And it's serving. It's the direct opposite. And he lays up himself. I mean, if we understand theologically that he is God, God's son, King of the Jews, all of these titles, and he comes, he even says, for the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And so this distinct sense of, I came to serve. If you think I am the one that I am, and my goal is to serve, if you want to be faithful to me, it's got to be part of what you do. And that's radically different.
Yeah.
I mean, we like to sometimes just brush over it, but I think it's radical. It's interesting to think about for preaching, or even for the Christian life and faith.
Yeah. And with giving back to the community and such, like with our church, we do we participate at a homeless shelter, and it's called Tested House, and we work at the homeless with the clothing closet, as they call it.
Yep.
And so what we're doing is we're helping all those people who don't really have someone to help them with, and we're helping them to get new clothes, and we're trying to get them to get that head start and to jump back into the road of life. And it's a really changing experience, because you really get to see, and with helping them, you really see how much people are actually helping you. Because you could say, oh, I'm independent, like I do everything by myself. But then if you take back, you're like, well, what if I don't have my mom or father? Or what if I don't have, my job? Like all that kind of stuff. You'll see that you're no different from the people who you're helping with. And
yeah, and that service is important. Because, I mean, if you look at a lot of those things, there are folks in there that might be there due to mental illness.
Yeah.
They might be there due to addictions and other struggles. And if you look at a lot of the dudes and dudettes that the boss served, I mean, they weren't just the rich and the famous. They were often those that truly needed to be served.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you talk about Eschaton House, there are some people that come in that are cheerful, and there are some that are having a rough go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're having a bad day. Everybody gets a bad day every now and then. It's probably multiplication when you don't got a roof over your head and it might be snowing out.
Yeah.
Your day gets worse, man. And so the service is important there. Yeah, the Eschaton House is a good one. It's a good way to serve.
And plus, too, with really just helping someone with anything, like you could start a chain reaction with doing anything nice. The butterfly effect, how one butterfly's flap of the wings can create a hurricane later on.
The chaos theory right there.
But that doesn't have to just tie to chaos, So if you just like smiling at someone who's having a bad day, because that could turn their day around, and making them more happy, making other people more happy. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with helping out someone. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is putting a couple minutes out of your day to make someone's day go from terrible to having a great day. That's, with me, where I work retail. And so you'll see the people who are having a really bad day, and you could just be like, oh man, you ring them up and you're like, all right, have a good day, like that kind of stuff. But just talking to them and asking them, like, how's their day going? And just kind of just venting to someone about that just helps someone a lot.
Well, and even on the other end, I don't work retail, but there are moments, man, where people can have the beat down retail look. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the beat down retail look, like, oh my gosh, I have another customer that, is looking for this one dress in this one size, and it just does not happen. It's just not confluence of events.
Yeah.
And they think I personally burned all those dresses or something. Those folks where it's like, if this has not happened, it is obviously a conspiracy against me.
Yeah.
And I've gone in line after those folks, and there's often the sense of, just being just simply a kind, generous human being in those instances can help, because, man, service industry is rough, brother.
Yeah, it is. We had someone who was looking for painting, and we have this huge selection of paintings at our store. And I went with that customer, and we spent maybe 30 minutes looking for one painting, and we couldn't find it, and she was getting really upset. And I said, you know what? Come back next week. We restock every week and a half. And so I said, next time, check and see if it's there. If not, just keep trying. Just don't lose hope.
For your painting.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that, even as we talk about service, in Christ's day it might have looked like something, but today, I mean, as you bring up Eschaton House, even as you bring up your job, I think even as you talk about working, there's this interesting concept that we could talk about. And it's the inexorable link, and I hate to use that word, but I don't know the better word for it, between who we are and what we do. Because as you talk about these things, is that if somebody's mindful, aware of the reality that service is a good thing, they will do something to help a neighbor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there's even the sense of how do we help build that up? And I like your idea as you're talking about it, and I hear it in here as well. Is that Christ calling the apostles to serve others is also in this hope of creating a world of serving each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where hopefully if somebody comes into the store and somebody's more generous and compassionate, not someone be like, dude, open the register. But you know, the generous sense is that it creates that. And there's that work of the Spirit in those things. That's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, even at Acid House, there's hopefully the hope that the people that come even to try it, it creates a more generous heart. And I know a lot of people have done that.
With I run a club at the school that I go to, and we're at the struggle of no one wants to do the community service besides this group of 10 people. Keep in mind, we're the second biggest club at our school, and so we have like 60, 70 members.
So it's not like there's like 20 guys.
So we're trying to persuade them. We're like, well, if you want to do the fun stuff, you got to do community service. Like, because we do a few parties a year, and so now only the people who have participated in community service. What we're doing right now is we're going to be doing a food/clothes drive.
Good for you guys.
And what we're going to do with the clothes is we're going to donate them to Eschaton House just to help the people out. Because they, even though they might just be like, like not the clothes that they would put in the clothing house that we work at, they'll still be able to use all the different clothes.
They always do. There's always a need for those sorts of things. Especially as the weather's tipping.
Yeah, because with with last year when I brought in like the 700 pairs of shoes for Eschaton House, because that was pretty good. Like my whole school was happy. Like, yeah, donation. And it's too, because if you look at it of a community service, no one's going to want to do it. But if you're like, come on, you got to stay happy, you got to be ready to do this kind of stuff, that's going to motivate people to do more community service in and outside of that situation.
Well, and it goes back to even the question, excuse me, is there, and I hate the phrase, but it's the most accurate, fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? I want to be a more service-minded human being, so I will do it to help create that sort of thing. Yeah, no, and there's integrated ways of doing things. You know what I mean? I mean, Luther League, the youth, the high schoolers here, our youth people do a really good job of trying to integrate it in. I mean, haven't we done like blankets for sometimes abused kids and some of those sorts of things?
Yeah, pillows.
Pillows. And so here's the sense of, I might not even ever meet this person. But while chilling at church with people, doing all these sorts of things, if I can make this, I mean, could you just imagine being pulled out of your home to be safe? You don't got much with you, but to have maybe one snuggle item given to you, man, that tips you. That tips you healthy. And I mean, you want to talk about grace and God's grace. If we can even show that with a pillow, man, that's huge. So there's many and various ways of doing that, which is good.
And speaking of the people who have been pulled out of houses and everything, I can't remember the name of the orphanage, but it's somewhere in Europe, and it's been around for 500 years. And when it just was made, people would drop off their babies, like if they're not able to take care of them due to money or addiction or any of that kind of stuff, they'd leave them with a locket or any like a picture or any of that stuff. So if that parents were able to ever take care of them again, they would know who is their child due to the memento that they left them. And speaking of community service and fundraising too, the Hallelujah chorus and the Hallelujah. They performed that as a fundraiser for that orphanage, and they perform it once a year, and they've been doing it ever since the church or that orphanage was made like 500 years ago. Each year they do that as a giant fundraiser. And
you want to talk about that's the gifts, and maybe that's one of the great things to think about too, is that any gift we have can possibly go into service.
Yeah.
There's so many and varied ways. And there's this great part about this text. I mean, it's that real call to us. Because if we look at our society, again, still, there is that tension. And I think churches fall into that struggle. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of churches get stuck on nickels and noses, brother. And there's that concept of size. Well, we got the biggest building. We got the biggest this, that, or the other. But you look at the man addressing the 12. Christ talking to the 12. He ain't talking about nickels and noses.
Yeah.
He's talking about, and I would dare to translate it this way. You should judge the size of a church. Shoot, maybe it's Yoda Church, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's Yoda Church. Have I ever told you about Yoda Church?
You've never told me.
Yoda Church. That's the concept. And, I steal it from of course, obviously Star Wars, because I'm nerd-tastic. But there is that speech that he gives to Luke. Judge me by my size. Well, you should not. I'm not going to get it wrong. Hopefully there's nobody that super Star Wars out here because they'll flame me.
Right.
What do you mean you can't quote it verbatim?
Well, it's Yoda, so you could have, as long as you have the right words, you
Yeah.
can make it however you want.
The general sense, he tells Luke, you can't judge me by this size, this view, this image. What are my allies? What am I able to even accomplish because of that? And if our ally is Christ, who says, I have come to serve, not to be served, you judge the place by then the good they can do with the size they are.
Mm-hmm.
That is really, in many ways, the measure of faith. It's the mustard seed concept, the Yoda concept, whatever you want to call it. But you know what I mean? There are those moments, because even sometimes those Yoda moments, maybe even at retail or some of those other sorts of things, or even hopefully even this church sometimes, with Hesed House.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because Hesed House also has the awesome opportunity. If you get a whole crew that's going to act up, I mean, you can work in the kitchen. I don't know how many people it takes, but it's,
Yeah.
But with four odd people at Hesed House, like how many would you guess people we can get through?
At least like 50 people going.
So here's 50 people that are getting closed for a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not a size thing. That's a multiplier thing.
Mm-hmm. Because with even if you have enough people working at Hesed House, because if we have the Pillsbury crew, which is me, my girlfriend, and a bunch of friends, we go there like maybe every other Hesed House, and so we have maybe like 6 or 7 people working at the Hesed House, and we'll just get through all of the people. When we're waiting for more people to come up because we're getting people in and getting them what they need.
Yeah, and there's a good crew. I mean, like Sue and Bruce and those folks. Gina's solid.
Yeah.
Roger's good. There's a good number. And it's not always the same people. And hopefully we can get some more down the pipe because it's really a good...
What I was thinking too is with the soup kitchen is to try and get the club that I'm at my school is to do something for them over there for community services, to work the soup kitchen maybe one night a month, or just any of that kind of stuff, whatever to give back to the community.
Exactly. Because again, the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. And this was ransom for the life for many. And that's a good thing to remember as being church, as being people, as we do these things. And I don't know. You look at the news, you look at the ads. If you get that best car, you'll obviously be the best. You get that new thing, or you'll be the best. There's no ads for, look at this guy for the service that he does. Mm-hmm. And even then, it's those...
The only thing closely related to that is, this guy got money fast. Click now to look at this paper that he wrote on how to get money fast.
Hey, the secret of getting rich is convincing people the secret of getting rich.
Exactly. There was one episode of, I think it was King of the Hill, where his neighbors just watch this program of how this guy made money. And he's just like, you make money because you let other people know that you can make money. And so people will give you money.
So you can make money.
So you can make money.
Yeah,
and it was
the Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Yep. And does that make you great? I don't know. This text is a good grounding, and it flips a lot of our instincts on our head. And sometimes it takes work to get to it. And sometimes more than work, it takes that faith and trust that the good Lord knows what he's talking about. Saying his first rodeo. And that when he says, if I've come to this extent of putting on flesh and dwelling among you to serve, I think it's important.
Yeah.
It is. In many and varied ways. And that's maybe the cool part of this conversation. Hopefully for people listening, they've heard just the many and varied ways. From the simple to the extreme. I don't know.
And leave in the comment below if you like what you have done to give back to the community this week. Because that's always an important question to ask. How have I helped someone this week? As I said, whether it's helping them find a painting for 30 minutes or just giving them a smile, anything, And
maybe one of the weird notes to leave it on, too, is we also need to remember that we are not above being served. That's always one of those struggles as well. Because you must be your servant. Whoever is to be first among you must be slave of all. But sometimes we need to be served as well. Maybe I'll leave it on this great note. There was this awesome image. This person was having a dream. I don't know if I told you this story before. And the first was this image of hell. And it was this gigantic soup pot. And everybody had really short arms that were stuck to their sides. And they had really long spoons. And everybody was trying to dip into the soup pot with their spoon, and they couldn't feed themselves, and they were starving. Then they showed him an image of heaven. And it was this gigantic soup pot. And everybody had these really short arms stuck against their sides. And everybody had these really long spoons, and they couldn't reach their mouths. But lo and behold, they were feeding each other. Mm-hmm. So when there is service, and we are served and serve each other, there is grace, there is God's love, there's all those good things.
And if you enjoyed this episode of Stumbling Towards the Eschaton today for October the 18th of 2015, stay tuned for more and check out our other podcasts.
All right, brothers and sisters, keep stumbling and blessings on the road.
See ya.